On August 7th, 2020, officers Jordan Horn and Dalton Martin of the McDowell County Sheriff's Office of West Virginia visited the 66-year-old named Donnie Harrison and his wife Ventress, who is 63, as they were sitting on the front porch of the house, which was rented from the ex-military officer named Jason. The deputy came in and asked questions related to 4 marijuana plants that were planted nearby. So let's watch the video further and see what happens.
Just because in the season that we're living in, I think it's important that I have your names.
What do you mean, man?
A lot of crazy stuff going on.
When the law enforcement officials came to the Harrisons' home, the elderly woman greeted them by saying season before inquiring about the officers' identities. When the officer inquired as to what she meant by that, she responded that there are numerous occurrences taking place and that she's inquiring about the name of their security.
Police officers in this area to come up and say, "Are you growing marijuana?" That is preposterous to me.
Is just a question, man.
Yeah, well, I get that.
She gives off the impression of being irritated as she asserts that the officers from the surrounding area came and questioned them if they were growing marijuana there, which the speaker finds to be a ridiculous request.
And so then my only question, use your names, just so it's okay in my own heart and mind. And when I say the season we're living in, you know the season we're living in.
Y'all concerned about something over here at this house?
In order to defend himself, the officer claims that it is only a question, to which the lady responds in an unprompted manner that she understands, and she's merely requesting the officer's name for her own mental and emotional well-being.
This house?
No, that house.
Yes.
What's the problem?
Who lives there?
Mr. Ferguson? He's probably there now. He's 79.
Okay.
Jason, the owner of the residence, interjects himself into the conversation and inquires of the police about whether or not they check the other house, where the police will inquire about the person who resides there by asking for their name.
All right. What's your name, sir?
Jason Tart.
Jason Tart.
Tart.
And what do you mean by the season we're living in, ma'am?
Sir.
What do you need? You got any questions for me?
No, I'll collect some information from you in a minute, your name and date of birth and such.
The lady responds to the person who's living in that house.
What do you need my information for?
You own these 2 homes, correct?
What
Okay,
these 2 homes got to do with that?
These 2 homes is near that marijuana grow, so I'd just like to have your name.
You know how many people go through here?
I understand.
That's
Well,
not going to...
The officer then asks the name of the individual standing beside the lady, where Jason introduces himself and asks the lady what does she mean by the term season, in which the owner of the house jumps in and says what the officer requires.
Do you one bit of good?
Okay. Well, sir, I'm going to need your name and date of birth, and I have that.
I feel comfortable giving you my name
Where the officer replies by stating he is just collecting information.
and date of birth.
Okay, well, this is a criminal investigation. You own these 2 homes, so by law, you do have to give me your name and date of birth, sir.
If he gives you a reason, yes, you do.
Reason for what?
Because of the marijuana grow.
It's not on my property.
Okay, well, again, I have reason to believe that.
Jason asks why is he collecting information, to which the officer replies that he owns the property and his property is nearby where the marijuana was grown. Jason responds that it's not on his property. The officer states that he believes it can be a possibility that the nearby houses are also connected with the marijuana planting, so Jason has had to give his name and date of birth due to law regulations.
Scared you
Who says that? Who
by asking you a question,
who comes up and asks? That's crazy.
and it scared you?
I'm trying to understand what
It scared you by me asking you a question.
Growing marijuana?
And that's a question. To say somebody scared you because they asked you a question is ridiculous.
That's preposterous.
Go ahead and give me your name, sir.
Wait.
First name.
It's ridiculous to you, sir.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
it's not ridiculous.
Your
over
first
here.
name.
I'm not giving you my information.
Sir, if you refuse to give me your information, I'm going to arrest you.
That's fine. My property has nothing to do with any marijuana whatsoever. You're going to arrest me if I don't give you my name and date of birth.
It's obstructing an officer.
Jason Tart initially refused to give his name and date of birth when the deputies requested it. He argued that the alleged marijuana plants were not on his property and therefore he did not need to provide his information. However, the deputies insisted that he was required by law to provide his name and date of birth due to the proximity of his properties to the alleged marijuana plants.
No, I'm hindering you from
This
doing your
is
job.
really going out off the
Yeah,
deep
this is
end.
how you guys.
This is bad.
This is
112 control.
this is how you operate.
This is a wrap.
I'm hindering you from doing your
That's
job.
why I needed their.
Y'all need to go inside. Again, you two go inside. Go inside.
I'm afraid.
Go
now,
inside.
to tell you the truth.
Go inside.
On my own porch?
No, go inside as of right now.
Tell me why.
Go inside.
What are you doing,
Step off
man?
the porch. Step off the porch.
I'll step off.
Go inside.
What are you doing? This is unnecessary for
Sir,
you to be
go
doing
inside.
This. He's standing on his own porch.
Go inside.
During the interaction, when Mr. Harrison began filming the encounter between the deputies and Mr. Tart, Deputy Martin forcefully pushed the Harrisons into their home. He specifically pushed Mr. Harrison into the doorway and closed the door behind him, effectively preventing him from continuing to record the incident.
Come on.
Look,
Walk.
man, don't
Walk.
listen.
Sir,
You don't
stop.
have to listen,
You're
man.
being
Listen.
recorded.
Listen. This
Just
is
walk.
listen.
Walk.
Listen.
back,
I
sir.
can
Walk
walk.
towards
I
the
can
car.
walk
Okay,
without
well,
you
walk.
putting your damn hands on me.
Walk
You
to the
understand?
vehicle.
I have not broken the law.
The officers forcefully started putting handcuffs on Jason. He tried to stop the cop and told them he can walk wherever they want him to, but don't put the handcuffs on, stating that he didn't break any law to be handcuffed.
Walk to the
At
vehicle.
all.
Well, walk to the vehicle,
Don't
sir.
put
You're
your
being
damn
recorded.
hands on me. I give
Sir.
you no reason to touch me.
I'm going to arrest you then. Place your hands behind your back.
Uncalled for.
Place your hands behind your back.
Put your hand behind
Place your hands behind your back.
Listen.
Look, just relax, okay?
Listen. You.
Just
you-
relax.
Place your hands behind
okay?
your back. Please place your hands behind your back.
My hand is behind my.
Place your
It
hands
only
behind-
takes one of you.
Place your hands.
Look, let him do it.
The officers then directed Jason to walk towards their vehicle. Still, the argument was going on, and Jason stated that it was all uncalled for. The police officer put the handcuffs on Jason at that point and told the other officer to leave his hand and let the other officer put on the cuffs.
He owns two properties right here on this Fabulous Drive road. We located a marijuana grow, probably not 100 foot, 50 foot from this last property of his, and he just won't give us his name, date of birth.
The officers took Jason towards their vehicle, made him sit inside, and updated their heads about the situation, stating that Jason's not providing his ID and credentials when asked for, and lives approximately 50 to 100 feet away from the scene where the marijuana was found.
Yeah, boys. They a white male, black male.
Black now.
The person on the other end asked about Jason's appearance, and when heard that he was a black man, the officer put marijuana inside the car's back as a piece of evidence, due to which Mr. Jason was charged with obstruction of the law officer, but the case was allegedly dismissed as the prosecutor on October 2020, as Officer Martin failed to appear in front of the court. The statement highlights that despite the potential challenges posed by qualified immunity, it acknowledges that the deputies did not behave in a professional, calm, and polite manner throughout the encounter. It recognizes the efforts made by Mr. Jason and the Harrisons to exercise their constitutional rights and take appropriate legal action following the incident. The statement commends their courage in initiating a lawsuit after their rights were infringed upon. It expresses curiosity about the outcome of the legal issues involved and how they will be resolved in the future. Ahmed Al-Menhali, a United Arab Emirates citizen, traveled to Avon, Ohio in June 2016 for medical treatment at the Cleveland Clinic. Upon arrival at the Fairland Inn and Suites, he was informed that the hotel was fully booked due to the Republican National Convention. Ahmed politely requested alternative accommodation options. While waiting in the lobby, a SWAT-style response occurred, with Avon officers arriving and detaining Ahmed, who was simply walking out of the hotel while on his phone.
On the ground, no! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Down! On the ground, do it now! Get on your car. Down!
Confused by the situation, Ahmed questioned the officers, but they handcuffed and searched him, damaging his phone in the process. They found a second phone, which Ahmed used for business purposes.
What the phone away! Cover the entrance, help me get back.
What is it?
Go.
What happened?
Despite no evidence of wrongdoing, the officers treated Ahmed as a terrorist, disregarding any investigation or backstory. Simultaneously, an officer spoke to the hotel receptionist who had made a 911 call, falsely claiming Ahmed had pledged allegiance to ISIS. The officer soon realized it was a false alarm and called off the search. Meanwhile, Ahmed collapsed and passed out, prompting paramedics to administer aid and to take him to a nearby hospital. The incident gained international attention, leading to the United Arab Emirates Ministry of Foreign Affairs to demand an apology from Avon officials. The mayor and police chief apologized to Ahmed, emphasizing that the incident did not reflect their community's values. Marriott International, the hotel's owner, expressed regret and committed to training to prevent similar occurrences.
You should not have been put in that situation like you were.
There were some false accusations made against you, and those are regrettable.
Mayor Jensen said in a statement,
"This was a very unfortunate incident and does not reflect our community. Avon is proud to welcome visitors from the United Arab Emirates and other countries who regularly come to Northern Ohio for tourism, business, medical care, or education."
The settlement aimed to compensate Ahmed for physical, psychological, and financial damages. However, he still faced lasting emotional distress, was haunted by the officer's eyes, and experienced sleep disturbances. The incident highlighted the need for improved cultural understanding and sensitivity among law enforcement personnel. Here we have Brian Filipiak, a 47-year-old Washtenaw County Sheriff's Lieutenant, who was off duty when he got pulled over. Deputy Morrison, after stopping Lieutenant Filipiak, informed him about the reason for the traffic stop. Subsequently, Deputy Morrison inquired if Lieutenant Filipiak had consumed any alcoholic beverages that afternoon. In response, Lieutenant Filipiak acknowledged that he had indeed consumed a couple drinks. After Deputy Morrison confirmed Lieutenant Filipiak's identity, he returned to his vehicle and instructed the lieutenant to exit the truck for a field sobriety test. The purpose of the test was to assess whether Lieutenant Filipiak had consumed an excessive amount of alcohol, despite it being evident he was clearly unfit to drive. Exhibiting evident signs of severe intoxication, such as slurred speech and watery eyes, Lieutenant Filipiak left no room for doubt that he was heavily under the influence.
Okay, you got your ID?
However, despite this clear indication, Lieutenant Filipiak adamantly refused to comply with Deputy Morrison's request to step out of the vehicle. Instead, he insisted that Deputy Morrison should either allow him to return home or let him sleep it off on the side of the road. In response, Deputy Morrison firmly informed Lieutenant Filipiak that his options were limited and made it clear that he would not allow him to be released in his current condition.
Multiple reckless driving calls about you. Okay? And then when I'm calling you, you're hitting the shoulder of the road. You been drinking?
Okay.
How many?
Just a couple.
Okay. Where are you reaching in the back for? I seen you reaching in the back. You have an open container back there? Okay, you been drinking on the way here? Got your registration, proof of insurance? Do you have a firearm on you? Okay. Do you got your pistol? Are you a corrections officer or just deputy? Lieutenant? Okay.
Despite Deputy Morrison's persistent attempts to persuade Lieutenant Filipiak to exit the vehicle, the latter remained adamant in his repeated request to be released. He proceeded to assert that Deputy Morrison's job would not be jeopardized if he let the situation slide, emphasizing the potential consequences for himself if the matter were pursued.
Brian, I'm going to have you step out of the car. I'm going to do a field sobriety test for you. Okay?
However, Deputy Morrison understood that ignoring the incident would not only lead to his termination, but also result in misdemeanor charges carrying a penalty of up to 1 year of imprisonment or a fine of $1,000. Deputy Morrison was fully aware of the extent of Lieutenant Filipiak's intoxication, as he had allegedly observed the lieutenant discarding open containers in the back seat during the traffic stop.
I'm going to ask you to step out of the vehicle. What would you like me to do?
Just let me.
I can't. I had multiple phone calls. You'd be in the same situation if I was in the vehicle in your county, correct?
All right, just let me stay here.
You can't. I'm going to ask you nicely to step out of this vehicle. Brian, my hands are tied. If I let you go, I'm going to lose my career over you. You don't think I wouldn't?
No.
This is northern Michigan. We're a small department. Okay, I'm going to ask you nicely to step out of the vehicle. You know I have my job to do. You know that.
Yeah. And I just want you.
And I understand your point, your position. Okay, I'm trying to be as cooperative and nice to you as I can.
Despite Deputy Morrison's continuous efforts in trying to have Lieutenant Filipiak step out of the vehicle,
After nearly 5 minutes of persistent requests for Lieutenant Filipiak to exit the vehicle,
Just let me go.
I can't let you go. We're way past that point. You know this. You're a lieutenant. You know how this works.
Yeah, I do.
You would tell one of your deputies if they called you right on the side of the road and they asked you what to do. So, if one of your deputies is in the position as I am right now, calling you as a lieutenant, Lieutenant, this is what I got. What should I do? You're just going to say let him go? Why? Just because. You're intoxicated. I know it. You have open alcohol in the vehicle that you're back. I know it. You know it. Can't have been gotten. Ryan, out of this vehicle. I'm asking you nicely. I don't want to see anything worse happen. Okay?
Deputy Morrison, having reached the limits of his patience, opened the door and firmly instructed the lieutenant to step out, avoiding any need for further escalation. Deputy Morrison proceeded to inform Lieutenant Filipiak that he would be arrested for refusal to comply if he persisted in refusing to exit the vehicle. RNO, an abbreviation for resisting and obstructing a police officer, is a felony offense that carries a penalty of up to 2 years of imprisonment, a fine of $2,000, or both. After an additional 5 minutes had passed, Deputy Morrison cautioned Lieutenant Filipiak that he would be tased if he continued to resist compliance with his instructions. Consequently, Deputy Morrison retrieved his taser and aimed it at the lieutenant, while firmly warning him that failure to comply would result in being tased. Deputy Morrison even considered using the backup taser at that moment. In this situation, Deputy Morrison possessed the authority to employ his taser and would not have faced repercussions for doing so. Fortunately, the threat of being tased successfully persuaded Lieutenant Filipiak to finally exit the vehicle. As anticipated, Deputy Morrison did not tolerate Lieutenant Filipiak's resistance, instructed Lieutenant Filipiak to occupy the back seat of his patrol car, intending to transport him to the police station. Despite Deputy Morrison's clear directive to sit in the car, Lieutenant Filipiak persisted in his refusal, stating, "I am who you guys are. Do you guys realize that?" This remark strongly indicated that Lieutenant Filipiak was attempting to exploit his position of authority, seeking a preferential treatment based on his status.
Alright, we're done with this.
Hold on.
Talk to me. Yes or no? Are you doing field sobriety tests?
All right. So if this was the other situation,
Lieutenant Filipiak clearly held the belief that he was exempt from abiding by the law. However, the officers present at the scene were determined to make it evident that such was not the case. Following some further struggle, they managed to successfully place Lieutenant Filipiak inside the patrol car.
I'm not resisting, but let's stop.
Let's
talk about it. Okay.
We've talked. I don't want to put you on the ground.
No,
I don't want to make this worse.
All right, I will just sleep it off.
Dude, stop it right now. You know? Stop it.
Allowing for his transportation to the police station where he would face the consequences of his actions. Subsequent breath tests conducted at the police station revealed that Filipiak's blood alcohol level registered at 0.28 and 0.27%. For context, the legal limit for operating a motor vehicle in the United States is a mere 0.08%.
What happens? We're going to take you to the jail and ask for a data master. And if you refuse that, we're going to get a search warrant for your blood. Brian, have a seat.
Stop, guys. Hold on.
Therefore, Lieutenant Filipiak's blood alcohol concentration was over 3 times the legal limit, subjecting him to Michigan State's super drunk law, which carries penalties of up to 180 days in jail, fines of up to $700, and up to 360 hours of community service. So it's time to watch our next case. On July 26, 2021, the Orangeburg Department of Public Safety received a distress call from a female resident of Colton Village Townhomes in Orangeburg, South Carolina. The caller reported that a man was vigorously banging on her door and window, attempting to gain entry. Furthermore, she alleged that the man possessed a firearm tucked into the waistband of his jean shorts. In response, dispatch promptly directed all officers in the vicinity to respond without delay. Officer David Lance Dukes arrived as the first responder at the scene. With his firearm drawn, Officer Dukes exited his patrol car and proceeded to instruct a 58-year-old disabled man, along with his cousin DeMario Julian, to immediately lie on the ground. At this juncture, it was evident from the body camera footage that Mr. Gailyard was complying with Officer Duke's commands. The recording captured Mr. Gailyard raising his hands in the air and proceeding to lower himself onto his hands and knees as directed by the officer. However, before Mr. Gailyard could fully assume the prone position on the ground, Officer Dukes unexpectedly and forcefully stomped on Mr. Gailyard's neck. The impact caused Mr. Gailyard's head to forcefully strike the pavement, resulting in a bruised forehead. Subsequent investigations revealed that Mr. Gailyard's delay in complying was due to the presence of metal rods and pins in his leg and hip as a result of a previous injury. Following the aggressive act, Officer Dukes promptly restrained Mr. Gailyard by placing him in handcuffs. Immediately afterward, Officer Dukes informed a second officer at the scene that there should be a gun behind Mr. Gailyard, suggesting that Mr. Gailyard had allegedly left a firearm behind the white SUV where he had been positioned prior to the confrontation.
There's a gun behind me. There's a gun, I believe, behind me. I ain't got no gun there.
Mr. Gailyard assured Officer Dukes that there was no gun present, and upon a quick examination, the second officer confirmed the absence of any firearm. Officer Dukes proceeded to conduct a search of Mr. Gailyard's person, accusing him of failing to comply with orders. However, as evident in the earlier body camera footage, Mr. Gailyard had been complying with Officer Dukes' commands from the beginning. Not once did Mr. Gailyard exhibit any behavior that could be perceived as a threat, thereby negating Officer Dukes' justification for using excessive force against him. Once Officer Dukes ensured that Mr. Gailyard did not possess a firearm, he decided to search the vicinity of the SUV himself in hopes of locating the alleged weapon. It swiftly became apparent that there was no gun to be found. Instead, it was discovered that Mr. Gailyard had been carrying a stick wrapped in shiny silver tape, which he typically used as protection against aggressive stray dogs. Officer Dukes and the second officer helped Mr. Gailyard back up onto his feet, at which point he began expressing his dissatisfaction regarding the unnecessary impact of his head on the concrete. The visible injury to Mr. Gailyard's forehead, marked by a bruise and swelling, further supported his claim. In response to Mr. Gailyard's confrontation regarding the incident, Officer Dukes provided a reply. At this point, it became apparent that Mr. Gailyard was in need of medical attention. However, neither of the officers present on the scene initially took this into consideration. Fortunately, Officer Queenie Polidor arrived and promptly recognized the necessity for emergency medical services, requesting EMS assistance. As Mr. Gailyard continued to express his grievances regarding the incident, Officer Dukes approached Officer Polidor and another responding officer to inform them about the situation. However, Officer Dukes' account was far from truthful. He claimed that when Mr. Gailyard walked in front of the SUV, he believed Mr. Gailyard was carrying a gun and repeatedly instructed him to drop it. Officer Dukes made further allegations claiming Mr. Gailyard had his hands in his pockets and repeatedly ignored requests to show his hands. However, the body camera footage once again contradicted Officer Dukes' statements.
He was in front of the car when I came up. He was walking like this. And I thought it was a gun at first. I said, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. I had him at gunpoint.
Clearly showing Mr. Gailyard complying with the orders by keeping his hands raised above his head. Officer Dukes mentioned to a fellow officer that he wanted to take the stick as evidence, stating that it was the reason for his actions. In response, the fellow officer promptly questioned the necessity of using the stick as evidence, pointing out that the body camera footage would suffice. EMS arrived at the scene to attend to Mr. Gailyard's condition. While Mr. Gailyard was being examined, Mr. Julian approached Officer Dukes and requested a card with his details on it. In response, Officer Dukes promptly informed Mr. Julian that he did not possess a card and clarified that the department did not issue such cards in any case. Officer Polidor quickly recognized Officer Dukes' misstatement and promptly corrected him. She asserted that they indeed possessed cards and proceeded to provide Mr. Julian with her own cards as requested. On July 31, 2022, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division announced that Officer Dukes was taken into custody and charged with first-degree assault and battery. Several months later, in November 2021, Mr. Gailyard received a compensation settlement of $650,000 from Orangeburg, South Carolina. City officials additionally expressed their commitment to establishing a citizens task force to provide oversight and guidance regarding interactions between residents and the Orangeburg police.